It started the way so many tragedies do, quietly, no sirens, no screaming, just absence. Her name was Rebecca Park. She was 22 years old. She was nearly 9 months pregnant. And one night in northern Michigan, she walked out the door and vanished. This is Human Wreckage, the place where we examine what happens when love, desperation, and betrayal collide and leave nothing but ruin behind. The last night. Rebecca lived in Boone Township, a small rural community surrounded by woods, gravel roads, and long stretches of silence. She was weeks, maybe days, away from giving birth. Friends and family said she was excited, nervous, hopeful, like so many young women standing at the edge of a new life. On the night of November 3rd, Rebecca was at her mother's house. At some point, she told people she was waiting for someone to pick her up. Just before midnight, she walked outside and climbed into a dark-colored vehicle. That was the last time anyone would see her alive. By the next morning, she hadn't come home. Her phone went unanswered. Panic set in, and on November 4th, Rebecca Park was officially reported missing. This wasn't just a missing person. This was a missing mother. A community searches. Police and volunteers flooded the area. Roads were searched, fields were combed, drones flew overhead, flyers went up, social media filled with her face and one desperate question. Where is Rebecca? Days passed, then a week, then 2, and still nothing. Somewhere out there, a pregnant woman was gone, and no one could explain why. On November 25th, the truth came out of the woods. Searchers in the Manistee National Forest found a body along a trail. Investigators arrived. The area was sealed off, and soon, the nightmare was confirmed. The remains were Rebecca Park. But something was wrong. Rebecca had been almost full term when she vanished, but when her body was found, she was no longer pregnant. Her baby was gone. Arrests. Within hours, the case exploded. Rebecca's 43-year-old fiancé, Richard Lee Faylor, was arrested, not for her death, but for 2 felony counts of delivering methamphetamine. A judge labeled him a danger and set his bond at $1 million. Then, Rebecca's 21-year-old sister, Kimberly, was arrested as well, charged with lying to police, tampering with evidence, and filing a false report. The people closest to Rebecca were now behind bars, but still, no one had been charged with killing her, and the baby was still missing. A shocking turn. Then came the bombshell. Prosecutors charged Rebecca's own mother and stepfather with her murder. They accused them of luring Rebecca to their home, imprisoning her, torturing her, and killing her, causing the death of her unborn child in the process. They now face first-degree murder, felony murder, torture, and conspiracy charges. It was a betrayal so deep, so brutal, it stunned even seasoned investigators. The family that should have protected her was now accused of destroying her. What we know. Here is what cannot be disputed. Rebecca Park disappeared on November 3rd. Her body was found on November 25th. She was no longer pregnant. Her baby has not been recovered. Multiple people close to her are under criminal investigation. What remains unknown is how all the pieces fit together, and who is telling the truth. As the cold winds move through the Manistee National Forest, it's easy to imagine how alone Rebecca Park must have been in her final moments. 22 years old, pregnant, surrounded not by love or safety, but by fear, betrayal, and violence. The forest where she was found will never be just trees and trails again. It will always carry the weight of what was taken there. Rebecca's story isn't just about a crime. It's about a young woman who trusted the people closest to her, a daughter who should have been protected, a sister who should have been defended, a mother who never got the chance to hold her child. And somewhere, a baby remains missing. A silent, haunting question hanging over this case. Was that child given a chance to live? Was their life stolen before it even began? Until that question is answered, this story will never truly be finished. The arrests, the charges, the courtrooms, all of that will play out in time. But justice, if it comes, will never undo what was lost. It will never give Rebecca her future back. It will never replace the first steps, first words, and first memories that were stolen alongside her life. This is why stories like Rebecca's matter, because when violence hides behind closed doors and familiar faces, it becomes harder to see and easier to ignore. But we can't afford to look away, not when the victims are so young, not when the cost is so high. I'm Thomas, and this has been Human Wreckage. And tonight, we remember Rebecca Park, not as a case, not as a tragedy, but as a human being whose life mattered.